Welcome to Mindset Matters. In this episode, I speak to Brent Lindeque, who is known as the Good Things Guy. Brent has been on a mission to share good news and has created a space for people to celebrate the good in a world that often feels like it's falling apart. In the midst of pandemics, electricity blackouts, government corruption, wars, and tragedy, Brent's voice and the Good Things Guy website is a welcome break from the negative. So how does the self-proclaimed Good Things Guy stay positive? How does he keep searching for good when things don't always go according to plan? In this episode, we chat about how he keeps going, how he embraces the low times and how he doesn't fight them, and how he uses tragedy to build beauty. It's an interesting discussion about mindset and about a guy who's really on a mission to do good. Enjoy. Brent, it is fantastic to see you and get to speak to you. You are kind of my go-to guy to talk about mindset. So thank you for once again being here to chat to me.
Clive, it's always such a treat to sit and chat to you, not just on a social level, but chat about things that matter, right? And after what we've been through in the last 2.5 years, I think talking about mental health, the mindset, how we navigate out of whatever this crazy thing is that we've been through is most probably one of the most important conversations that we can have right now.
Yeah, I agree. And that's kind of what I want to start off by asking you is that, we've spoken a few times during COVID and, there's in our various conversations, you've at times been very positive. At times you've shared how you've struggled and your mindset hasn't kind of always been abundant, if you want to put it that way. But you are the Good Things Guy in South Africa and quite well known as that. People expect you to stay positive. So how have you managed to, let's say, maintain a positive persona over the last 2.5 years dealing with a pandemic and a country that feels like at times is falling apart?
So this is one of the most important things for me that I realized over this time. Pre-COVID, so Good Things Guy has been alive. We're in our 7th year now. So pre-COVID, I almost felt like it was my responsibility to be happy, to be motivational, to be inspirational for everybody that followed not only the platform, but that followed all my different social media spaces. And that pressure was incredibly tough to keep going, to keep doing. It was, but I felt like it was my responsibility. It was day 80 of the pandemic, exactly. Day 80 of the lockdown in South Africa. I sent out a tweet, and it's so crazy, right? Because my business it lives on social media. I do a lot of stuff on social media, and you'll see how this all came to a sort of aha moment in my life. But I put out a tweet on social media. I'd seen 2 or 3 people. One was a friend, 2 were acquaintances that had got on a repatriation flight to Europe to go get jobs. All 3 of them were hairstylists. And so I put out this tweet and I just said, and I may have used the wrong words, but at the time it was my reality and the way that I was feeling. So I said, it's so sad to see so many hairstylists leaving South Africa to get jobs elsewhere because they just haven't been able to work in the last 80 days. And at the time, whatever cycle of grief we were in as a collective country, we were in anger. People were angry. And they were taking their anger and their frustrations out on me. And it first started quite small. There was a couple of people that said, how did they get on planes? There's no flights leaving. And I guess it's not understanding the facts of where we were as a country, that there were flights leaving, that if you had the ability, if you had another passport, whatever the deal was. But that snowballed so quickly that I was getting hundreds and if not thousands of tweets attacking me all at once. And it was this crazy sort of thing that I was going through. And my mental state at the time couldn't deal with that hate. on a normal day when I'm in a good space, I can. You can throw hate my way and I'm like, water off a duck's back. But on this specific day, for the first time in my life, I had an anxiety attack, a full-on panic attack. I was laying on the floor. I didn't quite know how to function. I didn't know how to gather my thoughts or how to process what was going on or how to deal with it. And my beautiful fiance, Andrew Ross, saw what was going down, grabbed my phone, and did what any sane person would do. He deleted the tweet. He made my account private. He took away my devices for the rest of the day. And he sort of fed me wine, is where we went to that. And then I slept for almost 24 hours. And I guess that's because I was dealing with a mental state that I'd never dealt with before. Very lucky. I'm very fortunate that I've never had that experience. But what that made me realize is that me portraying this happy, inspirational guy was completely irresponsible to everybody that follows me. The reality is that no one can be happy all the time. We all deal with monsters. We all are dealing with different states of our mental health. And if we can't be real with the people that follow us, what does that do to them? Like, then they are trying to be something that's not real. So that was a huge realization for me. And that was the point in my career as Good Things Guy, where I realized it's my responsibility to be real. It's my responsibility to say I have bad days. And now I do. Like I had someone contact me the other day and they were like, you cry a lot, because I'm always going, this has really upset me and I'm crying. And I was like, yeah, it's very cathartic for me actually to sit and sob about the fact that the world is falling apart. And what's really cool is that by me being vulnerable, it might not give you, this person who contacted me, the space to be vulnerable, but it gives other people the space to be vulnerable as well. So how do I keep happy? That was the first question you asked. How do I stay happy all the time? I don't. I'm real with who I am. And on the days where I'm feeling like I can't, on days where I'm feeling like I can't be that happy-go-lucky Good Things Guy, I fill my cup. I play PlayStation. I get offline. I spend time with the people I love. I know what makes me happy, and I work towards that happiness. And when I'm ready again, then I put myself out there and I'm back online and I'm ready to give that to the rest of the world.
Mm. So you mentioned that towards the end there, that you know what makes you happy and you gravitate towards that by filling your cup. How do you know what makes you happy? Because I think we live in a world where we almost expect that what people say will make us happy is what we need to gravitate to.
So I think it was in the book Eat, Pray, Love, where Elizabeth wrote about happiness and striving towards it every single day and working towards it and trying to make happiness your biggest focus. And for me, that is my biggest focus. When I wake up in the morning, I think about what it is that I need to do to like fill my cup is a big one. Like, how am I going to fill my cup? What's going to make me happy? And I guess it's mindset, right? And that's what this whole podcast is about. But it is your mindset. So one of the greatest things that I learned to do many years ago is change the words have to get to. So like the daily tasks, the remedial things that we think, and it might be silly to go, oh, I get to take the garbage out today, which is quite silly. But hey, I get to be on this podcast with you today, and I get to speak about things that matter. I get to have that incredible moment and that incredible experience. What else do I get to do today? I get to spend time with my dogs. I get to go to gym because I've got a healthy body. I get to eat really lekker food. Changing that mindset makes me realize that the things that I do have and that these experiences that I go through, I should be grateful for. And I think gratitude brings happiness. And maybe that's how I fill my cup, and that's how I do things that make me happy. The other side of that is when things are not making me happy, when things are not adding value to my life, I remove them. They don't need to be there. as much as I can. I mean, there's some people, and that's a sweeping statement. There's some people who really hate their job and they can't leave because they need the income to pay the rent. Yes, it sucks, and I'm sorry, but you get to go to work every day. You get to pay your bills, and you get the opportunity to maybe look for a new job. So you can work towards that happiness in some other way. And I also understand, I'm cognizant of the fact that there's some people that are unhappy and suffer with sadness or depression. And I'm really sorry for that. For me, experiencing panic attacks and realizing that like I'm a high functioning anxious person, that's been like a huge realization for me. But you can also work towards those goals to be happy. And I think that's important for me, is you can work towards it. And like I said in Eat, Pray, Love, Eat, Pray, Love, Eat, Pray, Love. Please edit that out. Like I said in Eat, Pray, Love, you can strive towards that every single day. And hopefully, you get to that point where you can say, I am happy.
So I might have to edit out that entire answer, because Eat, Pray, Love is probably the worst book I've ever read in my life, just so you know.
Oh my God.
I'm probably the only person to ever say that. Hey? But yes, I love Elizabeth Gilbert, read all of her other books, but Eat, Pray, Love, not high up there for me. But let's move on to another question. So So what you were saying makes me think about Carol Dweck, and she's written that kind of that famous book, Mindset. And she kind of talks about how extraordinary people have a special talent for converting life setbacks into future successes. And that's something that seems to be that's something that you kind of access quite quickly for you, because you speak quite a bit about your vulnerability, about setbacks that happen. I was reading one of your articles recently about getting on the wrong side of Twitter and having all sorts of vitriol thrown at you. And you've chosen to speak about that as a setback, because no one wants to get in the bad side of Twitter. And as per your example you used earlier, but you use it for good. You use it for other people's good, and also to see yourself in a different way going forward. How do you do that? What goes on in you, in your thought process?
Listen, Clive, I've been in many interviews in the last 7 years, and I think that is one of the most profound questions I've ever been asked. Where, like I didn't even realize that was a skill or a talent that I have. With that said, I guess I've learned it. I've learned to you have to. Mandy Wiener, an incredible friend of mine, she keeps trying to get me to write a book. Like, this is her life's goal, is to get me to write a book. And as much as I'd love to, the reality is I wouldn't even know where to start. It's a lot of work. It's really tough. So I don't know if that's on the cards for me. But I did write one chapter for her just to make her happy. And I think the chapter was called You Have to Celebrate Your Birthday Even If Your Dad Dies. And that's exactly what I think you've spoken about now. So my father passed away 11 years ago, very suddenly. He had malaria, got malaria. He was on Mozambique on holiday, and he got back, and 2 days later he died. It was just so crazy. And then 3 or 4 days after that, it was my birthday. So he died a couple of days before my birthday. And my dad was this larger than life character who just, he was the friendliest guy, and he really lived life to the fullest, life and soul of the party. And Andrew, again, my fiance, is always there for me, but he said, we have to go for dinner. Like, it's your birthday. You love your birthdays. Birthdays are huge for you. It's another day or another celebration that you've spent another year on this earth. Like, isn't that incredible? And yeah, so we went for dinner, and unbeknownst to me, Andrew had actually invited a whole group of my friends to this dinner. And I got there, and I was maybe upset when I first arrived, because I was like, how do you celebrate after you've just lost the greatest love of your life? How do you move on? And I think that's exactly what you do. You move on. And I sat with my friends, and I took all that love that I would have given to my dad, and that I was missing for not giving to my dad, and I gave it to everybody around me. I just spent so much time soaking in this incredible moment that I had with my people. And we landed up going to a club. I mean, the chapter that I wrote was it's really funny. We landed up going to a club, and on the way home, we got pulled over by cops, and they were like, "Have you been drinking?" And the driver at the time had not been drinking, but they were so aggressive. And I was just going, "My dad's dead! My dad's dead!" And these poor cops were like, "What have we picked up here?" And I woke up the next morning, and I just laughed at the whole situation. And I guess that's it. You need to celebrate your birthday, even if your dad dies. And that's where it comes from, maybe. That's exactly where it comes from.
So that's amazing. It's a special gift, I think, because I don't think many people can do that or allow themselves to do that. It's almost like using grief as an example is that some people feel like they're disrespecting what's happened by allowing themselves to move on. And I think there's so much power in deciding how you're going to choose to deal with something, how you're going to move it forward. And part of it, I suppose, was having Andrew around, was having someone to kind of get you out of that mindset of this is overwhelming into a space of how can I deal with it? But it's almost giving yourself the space to say, I can move forward. It's giving yourself the space to say, I can get to. It sounds like that's where you choose to go in your mind on a day-to-day basis.
So the only thing we have control over is our thoughts. I think I do. Maybe not everybody, but I do. I 100% have control over my thoughts. And it's yes, it's a skill. And yes, it's something that I try to do in everything that I do, but I try to control my thoughts, which ultimately controls the situation, right? That's what you're basically saying. And I think that it's important for me, maybe a coping mechanism, but like when you look back at what happened with the Twitter thing and that tweet that I put out about the government and the stupid Ferris wheel, and I'd got it wrong because the PR was wrong. But when the PR turned around and they started speaking about the fact that it was a private investor, and I know I'm speaking about something that maybe your listeners are not going to know. So quick caveat, there was a publication, a newspaper article that spoke about the fact that the government were putting a 450 million rand Ferris wheel into Durban. The city was speaking about it. They were very excited about this project, but nowhere did it speak about the fact that it was a private investor, which is also another question. Was it a private investor? Who is it? Why are they giving the land away? There's all these questions. And Twitter only gives you so many characters. And I tweeted about it, and it was well received, and everybody was like, yeah, actually, why are we doing this directly after what happened with the flag? It makes no sense. And by the end of the day, one of the DA ward councillors explained that, in fact, it was a private investor, or is assumed to be a private investor, and it's not the government's money, and it will bring a tourist attraction in. But I was still going, they've just been devastated by tragic floods. Like, none of this makes sense. It doesn't make sense. And Twitter started having their way with me and calling me really bad things. And the article that I wrote was just with regards to, I got it wrong. Totally got it wrong. But I don't see why Twitter has to be so toxic. Like, and I'm going off on a tangent. I don't know what you asked.
So my question is really, you've already kind of answered it. So I want to kind of move on in terms of that, because what you're saying is interesting for me, because it's almost like being positive and being a good things guy and doing all of the stuff that you do. It's almost people lambaste you for being critical because that presents negative. Yet what I find interesting about what you're doing is you're trying to present that positivity allows you to be critical as well.
So that's a whole other side of, and it's another debate, is the fact that I've created a box for myself, a real box. And that's again, pre-COVID, the box was just be happy, just be inspirational, just be motivational. You can't have an opinion about politics. And I've actually got screen grabs of people privately messaging me or messaging me on social media to tell me what I can and can't do, because it doesn't fit into the box that I've created myself. So can't have an opinion on what's going on in the world, can't be political, cannot be funny, can't be funny. No, that doesn't work either. And it's all these sort of things that I had allowed myself to be put into this box. But I'm a human being, and we are complex, and we have different likes and needs, and there's different sides to us. And Clive, you've known me on a personal level, so you know who I am. And I guess it's almost like watching Isidingo. Every night you sit down, and at 6:30 p.m. you see your favorite characters, and they do their thing, and the script writers never make them do anything that's sort of out of character, and you fall in love with them. And then when you see one of your characters in a shop, and they're not portraying the character that was in your mind, it's like a bubble that's been pricked, because you have this idea of who the person is instead of realizing the person is a human being. So what I did and what I tried to do during the pandemic, and I guess it's because I had so much time on my hands because I was at home, but I tried to use my platforms and what belongs to me to show people a different side of me. TikTok, I can be really funny. I do really funny TikToks. I think they're funny. Like, I laugh at my own jokes. On Twitter, I can be critical. And I can have an opinion about what's going on in our country. Why? Because I love the country. And sort of like on my social media, I try to be true to who I am. And Good Things Guy is a brand, but Good Things Guy is a good news publication. Good Things Guy is a part of me. It's not the only part of me.
Mm. And Good Things Guy has become more than just you. I mean, it's a publication, it's a website, it's a destination for people that you really started. You became the face of it, but it's moved on from that, I think. But
no,
I think
100% it has. I've got writers, I've got journalists who write for Good Things Guy. They are full-time staff. And it's so funny because even though the byline is their name, and if you scroll down to the bottom of the article, you'll see their photo of who they are. They're a real human. People will still tag me in an article and they go, "Thank you so much, Brent, for writing about our charity." And I'm like, it wasn't me. It was Tyler, or it was Brandon, or it was Frank. Like, it wasn't me. But yeah, so I guess that's, and I love it. I still, I created something really beautiful, and I love that people support it. And even if they think I'm the face, that's cool. As long as they're reading the good news, it's all that matters, right?
And I think what's so important is that it sounds like you've got to a place of realizing that part of being positive, part of kind of moving forward, and part of stepping into the space of your own brand is almost getting to a point of saying, fuck them.
Yeah, I guess so. And that's it all happened during the pandemic. I think I just realized that it's more important to be authentically you than anything else. The reality is there's a lot of bullshitters out there, and you see it in all types of different businesses. And I don't want to be that person. I want people to know that I am me. And yeah, some days I'm going to be sad. Some days I'm going to be funny. Some days I'm going to have an opinion. And most of the time I'll be the Good Things Guy.
And I think that's ultimately what it is. It's about being human. And I think that's, we need to go easy on ourselves and that's why I love speaking to you, because you do represent so many facets, especially for South Africa and South Africans, is that we have so many dichotomous elements going on in our country, from amazing to brutal and disgusting. And we have those within our personalities. And I think you've allowed people a space to be able to see the positivity, but allow the vulnerability and kind of access parts of us that maybe we don't want to. And that's maybe why you get the feedback you do. People don't want to, they want to focus on the positive, they want to dream. But I think that's the beauty of what you do, is you say there's good even in the shit.
So that's the thing that I do as well when I get up and do my keynotes, is I start with the fact that I'm not blind to what South Africa is or what the world is. The world is an incredibly tough place to live, for many reasons, and I sort of I speak to those different reasons in our country. I'm not blind to what is going on around us. I'm not blind to the hardships that people face, whether that be poverty or crime or mental wellness. We are all fighting really hard demons. And, I want to, every day, I want to give a massive shout out to everybody who's made it through the last 2.5 years. I have no idea how we got here. I have no idea how we made it through. We managed to survive. We somehow paid for our car on the month we didn't think we could. We were able to put food on the tables. We lost our jobs and we found another one. We lost people that we loved, but we were able to wade through that grief and somehow maybe come out on the other side. I'm not sure if we have yet, but I just want to, that's one of my biggest things is I realize we've lived through an incredibly tough time, not just the last 2.5 years. It's tough. The world is tough. And I don't know how we're doing it, but we're doing it. We get up every day and we're making it through. And that's the biggest thing that I can give a shout out to everybody out there.
And Brent, I want to just end with this is, what one thing would you say to people to do when they're feeling in a funk? What would be, besides drinking wine, because I know that's a priority for you, but what one thing would you say like has worked for you that you would recommend to someone?
You got to sit with that feeling and hold it with kindness. I believe that feelings are energy. It's all energy around us. It's energy inside of us. And we need to give that energy some sort of release. You can't push it down. You can't drink it away. You can't run away from it. You have to feel that feeling. You have to let it move within you. You have to not focus on it, but give it the space to do what it needs to do. So that's the first thing, right? Feel the feeling, let it be, and then also understand what it is. I'm sad. Why am I sad? I'm unhappy. Why am I unhappy? And then try to focus on the things that do make you happy. One of the easiest ways, and I said it earlier on, is through gratitude. If you can sit and you can think of just one thing that you are grateful for right now, just one, I promise you that list will get a little bit longer, and you'll think of a second thing, and you'll think of a third thing, and you may even think of a 10th thing, but you'll sit there and you'll start to realize how lucky you are to have the simple things, whether that be family, friends, love, I don't know, maybe money makes you happy, maybe wine makes you happy. Think of the things that you are grateful for, and then hold on to them. You can let that sad feeling go away, and then hold on to that new feeling. And that works for me. Gratitude is what puts me in a different space.
Yeah, absolutely. Brent, you are a legend. I've loved this time, although it's been short. Thank you for giving me the time and for being a part of this podcast. You have given invaluable advice, and you continue to inspire and teach South Africans to be different. I'm going to end with the words you say. Okay, love you, bye.
I love that. Okay, love you, bye.